You're listening to Living Full Out with Nancy Solari. As a successful motivational speaker and trusted life coach, Nancy knows how you can live the life you want regardless of the challenges you face. Although she's legally blind, Nancy's mission is to inspire others to overcome obstacles and live life full out. Call in at 800-333-0001 to ask Nancy for advice on topics such as relationships, finances, business, health, and more. Just call 800-333-0001. Once again, that's 800-333-0001. And now, here's Nancy.
Hello and welcome to the Living Full Out Show. I am Nancy Solari. So nice to be here with you today. We're going to be talking about resilience. We've all had those times in our life where we've been pushed down, our backs against the wall, clawing through the trenches to get to that goal, that dream. And it's like at every turn, we're put off, we're put down, we're shoved against that wall. We're not able to do what we want to do. Well, you are resilient. That's what allows you to get to where you want to go despite all those obstacles. Resilience can also be when we have a health challenge, yet we don't let it hold us back. It can also be when we have a loss in our life, but yet we're able to see the positive outcome from that loss. So stay with us. Think about where in your life you're resilient. And also, we're going to have a special guest coming up, Jodi Michele Cooley, in our next segment. She suffers from multiple sclerosis, but she's going to be sharing with us her journey and how she's resilient despite her debilitating condition. We're also going to be taking your calls. That number is 800-333-0001, 800-333-0001. Also, if you have any questions or comments or need resources on today's show, reach out to us at connect@livingfullout.com. Again, that's connect@livingfullout.com, and we can get those resources for you. And also, if you want to hear today's show again, feel free to go to livingfullout.com. Click on the radio show tab. This episode and all of our episodes will be waiting for you to hear again and again. Now, I am getting word from our producer that we do have a caller in the line, so we're going to go say hello to them. Hello, welcome to the Living Full Out Show. Hi, welcome to the show.
Hi there.
Hi, thank you so much for calling. How can we help you today?
My name is Paige, and I'm a college student, and I've been really stressed out about school lately, and I was wondering how I could reduce that stress while still being successful in school, because I know it's such a huge part of my future life.
Well, and what is it that stresses you out the most?
Probably making sure I get all of my assignments done and to my best ability, on time.
Okay. And do you generally get all your assignments done?
Yeah, but I tend to wait to the last minute or make it probably a bigger deal than they are because I'm so stressed about it.
Okay. So procrastination, right? That's your thing.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Okay. So the good news is, you want to hear what the good news is? Procrastination can absolutely be handled, managed, and overcome. Okay? You just have to schedule things out more. And this is a great question that you're asking, because when you want to be successful in life, you're going to need to nip that procrastination in the bud. You got to get to that now. So I would start practicing scheduling. Now, you might want to, I don't know, where you are in alignment with tests and papers and classes and so forth, what's coming up. But just take the next week, take the next 2 weeks, and schedule things out. Don't leave them to the last minute. Pretend like those deadlines are even 2 days, even a week earlier than they actually are. Now, you might be saying, well, Nancy, that is just ridiculous. There's no way I'm going to get all that done early when I can have an extra 2 weeks or a week, right? But I promise you this, what if you get that paper done early? Think about the things that you could do with that extra time. You could work out, and that might manage more of your stress. You could sleep in. But if you don't have that extra time built in, now you're in crunch mode. Now you're in that stressful place. And professionally, if you can get in the habit of doing that now, all the better. Now, I will tell you, I am right there with you. I procrastinate, right? And we're all in that 11th hour when we wish we had done something earlier. And then you say to yourself, yuck, I don't like this feeling. I never want to feel this again, right? You know that feeling, right?
Yes.
So the only way to prevent that feeling is to schedule things out. But I think if you start to do that, a couple things are going to happen. A, you're going to have more freedom. B, you're going to be on time with your projects. And C, you're going to learn the skill of scheduling, and that professionally is already going to set you up for success. Okay?
Wow. Sounds like a good plan.
Awesome. Well, hey, go out there, go get it. I know you'll do great. And thank you so much for calling in.
Yes, thank you, Nancy.
Okay, take care. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye.
So we've all been there, right? We've all been procrastinating. We've all been just stressed out because we waited to the last minute. But she will be resilient. She will get through this time, and she will be successful in her career ventures. Now, we do have another caller on the line. We'd like to go say hello to them. Hi, welcome to the Living Full Out Show. Hi, thank you for calling in.
This is Alex Talley.
Hi, Alex. Hi, how can we help you today?
So I have a question. I'm having my first real job this summer, and I want to know how can I better balance work and personal life?
What will the job be?
I'm working with a software development company.
Okay. Now, what is the concern, excuse me, what is the concern between why you feel like you won't have personal time versus your career time? Is the position that you're going into, are there set hours, or is it kind of flexible where you could see work and personal blending?
It is a full-time, 40 hours a week job.
Okay, so your shift will have a start time and an end time, right?
Yes.
Okay, so the good news is when we talk about time, you have the ability to keep those two separate. Now, my next question was, which is where a lot of us do go, are you afraid that emotionally you're going to be thinking about work outside of those hours?
Yes, because I've always been very invested in my schoolwork and things, and that always ends up coming home. And I want to be able to keep it separate, you know?
Okay, so you're going to have to allow your mind to be free and let those go. For example, outside of your working hours, when you start thinking of something work-related, I want you to have a little notepad, and I want you to write it down. Or in your phone, you might use a voice recording feature and record a note. Either way, the reason why we hold on to work when we're outside of those working hours is because we feel like we're going to forget. I don't want to forget, so I'm going to think about it all the time. Or, gosh, that's a really great idea. Let me think about that. How can I do that? How can I do that? And we fester and we think and we think and we think. If you write it down, it gets out of your mind and onto paper. You can set yourself free. Now, then it comes into the place of scheduling, just like we talked about with our last caller. You might set aside some time because you like what you do. Obviously, it's your career of choice. You might set aside some time in the evening, once a week, or on the weekend, where you dedicate an hour or 2 hours to think about work. Because obviously you want to do a good job, and you want to show up every day and bring 110% and maybe be that person, that leader that brings extra ideas to the table without them asking. So I applaud that. So again, if you write things down, it's out of your mind. And if you schedule a time where you're going to go back and read your notes or listen to your recording, that will be dedicated time that you can, get creative and process your thoughts. You think you can do that?
Yes. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And I'm glad that you asked that question because I want you to live full out, not just in your work life, but also in your personal life. And this will set you free so you can have fun with friends and family and just shut it down. Shut down work when you're done. Okay?
All right.
All right. Thank you for calling in.
All right. Thank you so much, Nancy.
You got it. So, asking great questions today, all about procrastination. How can I be my best? How can I let go of things? When we talk about being resilient, the most resilient people, they hold on to things, they fester, but they learn ways to compartmentalize those fears, those frustrations, those hopes, those dreams. Everything can be achieved in time. We all have the same 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's just that the people who are successful, the people that are resilient, are really good at managing those thoughts, managing their time. So again, as I said to you in the beginning, you want to think about where are you resilient in your life? Where are you doing really good? You shine, you overcome those challenges, you always rise to the occasion. You're a superhero. And you want to acknowledge those times and give yourself credit for that. But going through the rest of the show, now I want you to think about where are you struggling? Where are you not being resilient? And that's where we want to apply action today. Give you the steps, the next steps to set yourself free, just like our last caller. So when we come back, we're going to be joined by our inspirational guest, Jodi Michele Cooley, talking about how she's resilient despite having multiple sclerosis, MS. You don't want to miss it. It's a great story. This is the Living Full Out Show. I am Nancy Solari, and we will be right back.
Dad, this is fun. I didn't think I'd like kayaking.
Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it, but I think it's time to head back in.
Okay. Can we come back?
Sure.
Tomorrow?
Let's check with Mom. Hey, be careful getting out of the boat.
It's a kayak, Dad.
I'm going to return the kayak. Just make sure you have everything.
Yep. Can we walk home?
How about a taxi? 233 North Maple, please.
It's a short fare from your neighborhood to your naturehood. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a neighborhood park or green space near you. Also, find fun activities to do like boating and biking or camping and hiking, plus much more. It's all right in your naturehood.
Best day ever.
A public service announcement brought to you by the Ad Council and the U.S. Forest Service.
Don't you wish that getting your child to eat right, move more, and spend less time in front of a screen could be as easy as pushing a button? It might not be that simple, but you do have more power than you know. And you can maximize that power with proven strategies, tips, and tools from the National Institutes of Health's We Can, or Ways to Enhance Children's Activity and Nutrition program. We Can offers all kinds of resources, including fun recipes and activities the family can do together to show you the way to live a healthier lifestyle. We're not saying it's easy. We are saying that it can be done. Take the first step today. Call 1-866-359-3226 for a free We Can Parents Handbook. And be sure to visit the We Can website at wecan.nhlbi.nih.gov for free information too. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Today, my new dad and I shot off a rocket in the park.
Today, my new son and I failed to shoot off a rocket.
He knew exactly what to do.
It's not what I had no clue what I was doing.
We set up the rocket.
Hit
ignition. And then
nothing. Ha 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 ha. Sometimes I laugh when I'm frustrated.
Then out of nowhere, the rocket launched into the air.
The rocket did get into the air.
I've never seen anything fly so high.
And then crashed into a kite.
Look out! Look out!
And then the pond.
I'll never forget that day.
I'll never forget that day, even if I tried.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of kids in foster care will take you just as you are. For more information on how you can adopt, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
When I was little, I didn't talk for a long time. I liked things to always be the same. Anything new or different would scare and upset me. I was very sensitive to lights and sounds. It was almost like I had bigger eyes and ears than everyone else. So I built secret hiding places where nothing could get in. I didn't like looking people in the eye. It made me feel uncomfortable. I'd throw big tantrums over little things like when my socks didn't match. Sometimes I'd do the same things over and over. Until one day, I found out I had autism. My family got me help. Slowly, I learned how to live with it better.
You can see signs of autism in children as young as 18 months. Early intervention can make a lifetime of difference. Learn the signs at autismspeaks.org/signs. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
You're listening to Living Full Out with Nancy Solari. A professional motivational speaker, Nancy can help you overcome obstacles and start living full out. Call in with questions live at 800-333-0001. Once again, that's 800-333-0001. And now, here's Nancy.
Hello, welcome back to the Living Full Out Show. I am Nancy Solari, and today we're talking about resilience. Now, we want to think about where in your life do you need to be more resilient? How can we get you there? Now, our inspirational guest today, Jodi Michele Cooley, as I promised you, is one that is not only inspiring, but she's going to give you some things to think about today that will help you take action in your life. She has multiple sclerosis, which is MS, which she's going to explain to us more what that condition involves. But trust me, she's had to be resilient. She's had to overcome times in which her body may be failing her. But she doesn't just settle for a satisfactory life. She goes above and beyond that. She is a true example of what it means to live full out. So I'd like to welcome Jodi Michele Cooley to the show. Hello, Jodi.
Thank you, Nancy, and thank you for the fabulous introduction.
Absolutely. So can you explain to us, because MS really is a complicated one. I mean, I think RP, what I have, is complicated. Yours really does involve a lot. Can you explain to our listeners what that is?
Yes, multiple sclerosis is there's debate if it's an autoimmune disease or it's autoimmune mediated disease. But it basically affects your central nervous system, which would be your brain and your spinal cord. And it's a complicated disease because it affects no two people the same exact way. And there's over 50 different symptoms, and no people have kind of like the same cocktail of symptoms. But when you get people together who have MS, we shake our heads and we go, yeah, I get it. I understand. And no one else really understands, because there's people who have what's called the invisible disease, where they're completely fine. And what a lot of people with MS have, they suffer from extreme fatigue. Like out of nowhere, they're just exhausted and they just can't focus, and it's just debilitating, and it's very frustrating. I fortunately don't have that. There's a lot of people, the onset is actually a vision. It's double vision. They call it optic neuritis. Those are usually their first symptoms. And, there's people like me who I feel quite fortunate that, it mainly affects my walking. Does it stink? Yes, it absolutely stinks. And so, there are drugs out there on the market, thank goodness, today, because my mom was diagnosed with MS when I was 7 years old. And there's drugs on the market today called DMDs, which is disease-modifying drugs, which slow down the progression because it's a progressive disease, unfortunately.
Well, let me ask you,
but there's no cure for it.
Can I ask you a question, Jodi? So your mom had this. She was obviously diagnosed when you were 7. At what age were you diagnosed?
I was diagnosed right after I gave birth to my daughter, and I was 32-ish, I'd like to think.
And I'm just 32, around 32. And I'm just wondering, because when, watching your mom be diagnosed and go through, her own journey with it, since no two people are the same, when you got that diagnosis, were you scared? Did you feel like, okay, medicine's come so far, I got this, I'm sure I'm different than my mom? What was your thought process on that? Because there are people who do get diagnosed with what other family members have had previously, and sometimes that can be a scary moment.
Well, it was a scary moment because I was always told that this was not a genetic disease. So when I came down with my symptoms, I just knew something was going on, and I was afraid when my doctor told me that she'd like me to see a neurologist, that I knew what that it was going to mean. So when I went to the neurologist, and I went through all sorts of tests and whatnot, and then they gave me the diagnosis, is that my first, which a lot of people is like, first of all, I started to think about my mom's journey and how I didn't want to repeat history. And I was frustrated, angry, sad, mad, but more importantly, I was defiant because this was not going to happen to me, because I was not going to accept it. I was in extreme resistance. So, I definitely have experienced the gamut of emotions when it came to my diagnosis.
And what from the time that you were diagnosed, and you don't have to give us your age now, but I'm just saying, what has been the progression for you?
It's again, being in the denial, because I kept saying that I can actually, because I've done enough self-help on myself, that I'm not going to give in to this disease. And they assured me with the doctors that if I went on medication, that I would not end up where I am today. And so for probably the first 4 or 5 years, it wasn't really noticeable to anybody. And then I would get the whole thing. My leg was kind of was acting up a little, and people would ask me, did I have a knee injury or did I hurt my back? And I would say, yes, of course, that's exactly what happened. And then eventually got to the point where I was falling a little too much. And so I went to the cane, and I tell you what, I resisted it. And I went to the cane, and I was actually starting to isolate because I like to go shopping. And so by the grace of God that there's scooters today, and I got a scooter, and that was an adjustment as well. So everything kind of is an adjustment that, going, I'm not going to give into this, but you also I want to live my life.
You know what?
It's not a death sentence.
It's not a death sentence. And, I remember for me too, being legally blind, I when I got my first cane, I looked at it for a while and I was like, we'll just be putting that in the drawer. We'll just get to that when we need it. And then slowly but surely, I've started to use it more and more. And it's great that those canes and scooters are available. But what did it make you feel like? Was it the resistance to use them? Even though we know, you and I and many people listening know that those are useful tools, we also know that it makes it very real, our condition. And it's hard to fake it now. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So how did you defend that feeling, that moment?
I went through a myriad of emotions, and that's what's part of the thing that makes me resilient is that, the anger, the sadness, the crying, the screaming, all of that. And then having, an amazing partner. I just happen to have a really great relationship with my husband, and I have some friends that basically help me get through going, you know what, this is to help you. It doesn't mean you're a quitter.
Well, on that note, Jodi, you're taking us to where I want to go next in this conversation. Yes. But we have to take those darn silly commercial breaks, which we're going to take. I know. And so when we come back, we're going to continue our interview with Jodi Michele Cooley. So everyone stay tuned. This is the Living Full Out Show. Today we're talking about resilience. I am Nancy Solari, and we're going to be right back after this break. Stay tuned.
Listening to Living Full Out with Nancy Solari.
There are many sounds in your day-to-day life. There are sounds that wake you up. Sounds that make you smile. Sounds that energize you. And sounds that help you relax. But there are some sounds that can alert you to danger and can help save lives. Wireless emergency alerts, now on many mobile devices, use a unique sound and vibration to bring you information about severe weather events, Amber Alerts, or other emergencies in your area. With critical information from local sources you know and trust, you can be in the know, wherever you are. For more information, visit ready.gov/alerts. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
Keyboard Cat, Hamilton the Pug, and
Toast Meets World. These are some of the internet's most beloved pets. With millions of YouTube views, shares, Instagram likes, followers, and fans across the globe. But what do all these amazing pets have in common? Their stories started in a shelter. Start your story. Adopt a dog or cat today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org to find a shelter or adoptable pets near you. Training that pet to play the keyboard? Well, that's entirely up to you. Visit theshelterpetproject.org and hear more about Hamilton the Pug, Toast, and Keyboard Cat's amazing adoption stories. Start a story. Adopt a shelter or rescue pet today. Your perfect pet is just a click away at theshelterpetproject.org. A public service announcement brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
As an 18-year-old, I let my mistakes kind of take over my life. I was 0.5 credits away from completing high school, and I didn't do it.
10 years later, at age 28, Jackie finished her high school diploma.
When I found out that I was pregnant, I know that I had to do something for myself if I wanted to make her a better person and provide a better life for her. My family never stopped pushing for me to be better because they knew what I could become and who I could become as a person. My support team is amazing. The educational director, my sister, and even my 7-year-old daughter has just been more than the support that I could ask for. I've been given an opportunity, and I'm just thankful for it.
No one gets a diploma alone. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help. Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org. That's finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
What if I could tell you that a full-blown wildfire was going to occur tomorrow right where you live? Tell you exactly which neighborhoods it would engulf and how fast it would do it. The first thing you would do is talk with your loved ones and make a plan today. It's true, I can't tell you a wildfire will strike tomorrow, but shouldn't you make a plan anyway? Go to ready.gov/communicate and make your emergency plan today. Don't wait. Communicate. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
You're listening to Living Full Out with Nancy Solari. As a trusted life coach, Nancy will help you overcome setbacks and embrace all life has to offer. Call in with questions live at 800-333-0001. Once again, that's 800-333-0001. And now, here's Nancy.
Hello, thank you for joining us today. I am Nancy Solari, and today we're talking about resilience. And how do you be more resilient in your life? It's a good word. It's a very inspiring word. But how do you tap into that when you're just feeling deflated, when you're scared, when you feel fearful, and just feel as though your life is spiraling out of control? Well, our inspirational guest today, Jodi Michele Cooley, has felt all of those feelings and more, dealing with multiple sclerosis, MS, and having gone through that journey for years. And today she still can walk a bit, but goes around in a scooter, a walker, whatever she needs. And she has lived that journey. She's become more resilient in accepting what is, but yet still living life full out. So I'd like to welcome Jodi back to the show. Jodi, are you with us? Yay. Okay.
I sure am.
Good. So, you were sharing with us in the last segment about just how you had to go from the cane to the scooter and just all the ways in which your ability to walk had changed. And we talked about the array of emotions that you felt. And what I hear so oftentimes from our audience members that write in about what they're going through is, how do you get from that place of, I'm deflated, I'm sad, I'm scared, to, you know what, this is not a life sentence, I'm going to be okay. But how do you make that shift? Because it's really easy for you and I, as motivational as we are, to make that shift because we're kind of beyond it. But there's a lot of people in it right now.
Absolutely. And, I am a resilient person only because I was faced with adversity at such a young age. But am I perfect at it? Absolutely not. I'm what they call human, and we're all human. And whatever obstacles come our way, whether it be health or financial or relationship or whatnot, it's really important to not diminish that. And one of the things that I do is when I'm going down that place where maybe I'm having what they call an MS, an exacerbation, I'm having a really bad day. And so my mind, if I stay on my mind, I can make it really terrible. But if I give myself the dignity to pick up the phone and call a friend, I'm part of a support group, and I voice this stuff so I get out of my head and reason things out, that it's almost like equivalent to almost like vomiting, when you feel better after you vomit, that you get out of your head and you can think more clearly and start to get back on the straight and narrow. And so sometimes it takes an hour, sometimes it takes a few hours, sometimes it takes a day, whatever it is, but to give yourself the permission and the dignity that you're going to get through this no matter what, because we've all survived things that we never thought we were going to get through, and we just don't give ourselves credit.
Absolutely, absolutely. And, oftentimes I hear people also say, well, I got this handled. And I've been there too. I'm sure you have too. Yeah. I remember for me, losing my sight, every time my vision would take a jump, I would learn a new remedy, a new way to manage my life. And then it would take another jump. And then all of a sudden you're back to square one. But then there's the fear, for me, of going completely blind. I'm pretty blind, but I'm not completely blind. And I'm sure for you, there's the fear of maybe being bedridden or not being able to walk or function at all. How do you handle that future fear?
I can't be in the future because all I have is now. And there's a wonderful book written by Eckhart Tolle called The Power of Now, because that's all I have is now. So I have to plan what I can do right now, because with a disease that's unpredictable as MS, like today I might be having a really good day and tomorrow I may not be having a very good day, that all I can do is not live in the past, because they say if you have one foot in the past and one foot in the future, you're whatting on today.
Right.
So that it's really important to focus on what we can do now, what we can make ourselves feel powerful right now, and it's surrounding ourselves by loved ones and friendship. And one of the things that keeps me resilient is my sense of humor. I really find ways to find, after I've had the good cry and the anger moment, is to find a way to find the fun in it. That it's there's always something else that can be worse. And the other thing is gratitude. Be grateful for what you do have, because there's people out there who have it worse than you do.
Absolutely. Now, I will get people that come up to me sometimes and will say, "What do you see? Can you tell me what you see?" Or they're too shy to ask me anything at all. How do you handle when people ask you, "How do you feel? What does it feel like?" Or or maybe that it's kind of that elephant in the room, awkward conversation.
Well, I think at this point in the game, people don't really ask me that. One thing people say to me, do I feel pain? Because there are people who have MS who are in pain on a regular basis. I don't feel pain. So I usually find a place where I'm not feeling uncomfortable and they're not feeling uncomfortable. And I say, you know what? The pain really is in my ego because I can't wear high heels. But when people ask me, what's it like? And, people care. They want to know, but they don't really want to know. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yep. And so, I try to make as light as possible, because if I go to that dark place, I personally don't want to be that, because I've seen MS from the perspective as a child growing up with my mother having MS, that and there was nothing, no drugs or anything at the time. And so I saw how she handled it, and I just wanted to do things differently. So, it's always kind of it's the most important part is taking care of yourself. Keep it light.
Absolutely. And how do you handle, we've all been there, the why me? That big umbrella question that we all have. It could be why me on a breakup? Why me with a disease? Why me? Why me? why am I blind? Why do you have MS?
Yeah.
How do you answer that why me question?
Well, and because, don't get me wrong, I still have those moments from time to time, the why me. And, I love to quote music lyrics to songs, and says, what kill you, and it's a quote, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And that, if we can look at, again, there's people out there who have it worse. But it's not to discount your process and give yourself the dignity and the space to have your feelings and your experience. So, it's finding, I can't do things the way I used to, but I can find another way to do it. I used to be a dancer. I can't dance on my feet the way I used to, but I can watch other people dance, and I can visualize those moments. And I can't live in the sadness that I'm physically not able to do this, but what can I do now to honor that in myself?
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's why you are so resilient. And for everybody listening, we all have that ability. We can look at the life, glass half full, half empty. What is it? Obviously, Jodi, the glass is not just half full. It's some days it's overabundantly full, I'm sure. And then other days, our glass is a little less. And what do you do on the days that it's hard, on the days that your body is not cooperating? How do you find the energy? How do you find that resilience, that optimistic place? What are you striving for?
Well, a lot of times when I'm in that place, I am in resistance because I don't want to give my body a rest, that I want to keep pushing through. But what I've learned to do is get a relationship with my health, this condition. I actually call MS her, that she's trying to get my attention. So my instinct, because my brain still hasn't wrapped around the fact that we have MS completely, that I still think that I'm that person that I was beforehand. And so what I do is I kind of make a deal with her.
I love it.
Okay, I see that you want my attention right now, and I will give you that attention because you deserve that. So that bargaining, it's kind of like Maslow's law of hierarchy, and maybe the work of not Virginia Satir, but the woman who wrote this 5 stages of grieving. Is that we bargain, and so I'll give you this if you give me that, and so I just learned to listen to her because it makes my life so much easier. I just don't always listen to her, and she punishes me if I don't listen to her.
Right,
so,
and we don't want her to punish you. That would be a worse day.
I don't want her to punish me because sometimes it may not be so pretty.
Right. And, for me, I think I've been told there's a cure every 5 years, and 5 years, and 5 years, and that cure I'm still waiting for. And probably you're waiting for that same call. But what is your relation to the word hope? In terms of hoping that something does break for you with MS and all of the others that you know?
I mean, I have immense hope. I really do. But I have to deal with what I have right now, today, because that's all I have is today. So I try to do the best that I can within the limitations that my disease has given me. I'm hopeful and optimistic, and people are always talking about, when there's a cure, and that's the frustrating thing is when, you meet a group of people, when you're in a group of people with multiple sclerosis, they are frustrated because it's not like cancer where you can, they can cut it out and they can put you on chemo and, you can kind of be restored. This is a thing that's an ongoing, and you just don't know if you're going to get a little worse, what's the next symptom that might happen. So, you just keep pushing onward. And I'm so grateful that I have a great support network. Regardless of what your life is, it's so important to have people in your life who support you, that you can go to. And the fact that what really keeps me going is that I have a 13-year-old daughter. Thank goodness. and I try to show up as much as possible for her, and for her, and so it's for me as well.
Right. Well, Jodi, we have to wrap up, but boy, like I said, everybody, she is living full out every day, and thank you so much for being on our show. You truly are an inspiration. Thank you, Jodi, and for everybody still listening here, when we come back, we will be taking your calls, so feel free to reach out to us there. And remember, it's all about being resilient, so continue to think about how you can be resilient in your life. This is the Living Full Out Show. I am Nancy Solari, and we will be right back after this break.
Jason, I've got to tell you, you're pretty much everything this company is looking for in an entry-level candidate.
Great.
Your resume isn't quite what we're used to, but you've got a fantastic work ethic.
Thank you.
And I'm impressed by how you carry yourself.
So, should we talk about the job?
What? The job? Oh, sorry. Yeah, I have no way of recruiting or even meeting you. This interview didn't happen.
It may sound ridiculous, and that's because it kind of is. There's a huge pool of talent your company is missing out on. Meet the grads of life. Who are they? Talent worth knowing about. Young adults of unique determination and experience. An ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or even mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
Man, we really could have used him.
Don't miss out on a resource many innovative companies have already discovered. Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
The following message is about Medicaid and CHIP, free or low-cost health coverage for kids and teens. Enrollment is open year-round.
Hey, voice lady, give me the mic.
Okay.
Hey, DJ, let's switch up the music. That's better. So listen up, moms and dads out there. There are these programs called Medicaid and CHIP. They offer free or low-cost health coverage for kids. Things like doctor and dentist visits, prescriptions, and shots are covered. All the stuff that keeps kids like me healthy and in charge.
So, as you can tell, a covered kid is a confident kid. And it means confident parents, too. To learn more about affordable health coverage for your family, visit healthcare.gov or call 1-877-KIDS-NOW. That's 1-877-543-7669.
Yep, you could do something big for your family today because enrollment is open year-round.
This has been a message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
And Sophia.
They're going to jump out of trees. You can't stop them. They'll go down the slide head first. They'll make parachutes out of sheets. They'll balance on things that are impossible to balance on, like the back of a couch or a windowsill or a scooter seat. They'll run with sharp objects. They'll run into walls. They'll climb things that won't hold their weight. They'll put their fingers in places where they could get smashed. They'll drive their tricycles down steep hills. They'll bounce balls off their faces. They'll step on each other. They'll jump on each other. They'll invent whole new ways to put themselves in jeopardy. But one of the most dangerous things kids will do happens while they're sitting perfectly still. Kids who ride in a car without a booster seat are much more likely to suffer serious or fatal injury during a crash than kids in boosters. But amazingly, 80% of all kids who need them aren't in them. After a toddler seat and until they're 4'9", booster kids, and don't let them down.
Go to boosterseat.gov to learn more about the importance of boosters. A message from the U.S. Department of Transportation and the Ad Council.
Hey, Nick Cannon here. So we all know we've got a lot of talent in America. But unfortunately, there's something else we got way too much of. Childhood hunger. 17 million kids struggle with it in this country. That's why the Feeding America nationwide network of food banks gather surplus food to give hope to hungry kids and their families. Join me in supporting Feeding America and your local food bank at feedingamerica.org.
A message from Feeding America and the Ad Council.
We're your pets, and this song's dedicated to those people who don't have health insurance yet. Enroll, we say, we want you to be okay. Enroll, we say, take care, people, for goodness sake.
Health insurance is now affordable and covers prescriptions, hospitalizations, and preventive care. Visit getcoveredamerica.org to learn more.
And take care, people.
Brought to you by Get Covered America and the Ad Council.
To be resilient in your life means that you always know that you're worth it, that you have that fire in your belly, that you know that no limitation, no obstacle is going to hold you back. You always want to look forward, have your eye on the ball. What are you shooting for? What is your vision? And when you know that, you can be resistant upon anything. You'll be resilient in any way that you want in your life. It's all about living your life full out.
You're listening to Living Full Out with Nancy Solari. As a certified life coach, Nancy can help you to overcome challenges and start living full out. Call in with questions live at 800-333-0001. Once again, that's 800-333-0001. And now, here's Nancy.
Well, here we are, final segment of the show. I can't believe it. And we're talking about resilience today and how to be more resilient in our life. I just loved our last guest, Jodi Michele Cooley. I thought she had some really great words of wisdom to share with us. And, you know, even in my own life, people will say, Nancy, you're so amazing. I can't believe you do so many things and you can't see. And I always say to myself, I'm like, well, what are my options, right? So you have to kind of look at what's available to you. You know, there's that old saying, when life gives you lemons, make a lemonade. Well, whatever life gives you, you have to assess what is that challenge? What is that limitation? And what resources, what support, what do I need to still thrive in my life to achieve my vision, my dreams, my goals, despite that limitation? It may be a physical one. For me, it's seen, and I had to figure out in my life, how can I set my life up so that I don't have to see? You know, I coach for a living. I have this radio show. Everything in my life does not rely on seeing. I even found over time low vision aids where everything in my world talks. It's all audio. I don't actually have to see anything anymore, except if I want to try to see something, like if I'm walking downstairs or something like that. I might feel the rail or tap my foot on the steps. But again, now I'm touching. So you will always find ways in life to get around that bend, to get over that hurdle. It's just about getting creative. So through the show, I've asked you in your life, where do you feel limited? Where do you feel challenged? What do you need to do so that you can get around that and get over that bend? It's important that when you consider being resilient in life, it's not about being a superhero. It's not about acting perfect all the time or cheery and happy all the time. In fact, one of the most admiring qualities of a resilient person is when they let people in. When you're having a bad day, when you're sharing with someone about the journey that you're on and the frustrations that you have, now you let people into your life. The greatest gift that we can give ourselves and others is to be transparent and to be vulnerable. And when you can be transparent with someone, what I mean by that is you're open with them. If, you know, rather than acting good all the time and trying to go above and beyond, say to them, gosh, you know, I have the worst headache, or my body and my back hurts, or, you know, it's not like you're giving up. It's not like you're not fulfilling your day's obligations, but you're just letting them know, you're cueing them in to why you might be acting a little different today, why you might be more fatigued. And then in being vulnerable, why I mentioned being vulnerable is because we're all very common. We're all very similar in the same ways. We may have slightly different stresses, different demands of the day. But remember, we generally all eat the same. We all dress, we put on our clothes the same way. We all sleep on our back, our sides, or our front. There's a lot of common things that we all do. But where we can be different is when we're vulnerable, when we allow people into our story. It took me a long time to be vulnerable with people. I always wanted to see. I wanted to kind of fake it till you make it kind of thing. And I felt that if I shared with people that I was visually impaired or losing my vision, that in some ways it was a flaw. But it's not a flaw. In fact, in some ways, I realized it was a bit of a I guess I want to say a superpower. When I realized that my visual impairment allowed me to have a stronger connection with people, when I was transparent, when I was vulnerable, that allowed me to connect with people on a deeper level. And when I share with people about my visual impairment, going legally blind, how that's been and how scary it's been and how frustrating it's been very interesting because those people open up to me. I hear you, Nancy. Gosh, I'm going through a similar thing with X, Y, and Z. And now we're having this enriching conversation that we never would have had. If I just pretended that I saw just fine or everything was perfect, then they would have never been open or honest with me about what they're going through. So where in your life today can you be more honest? Can you be vulnerable or transparent? And when you do that, that is how you build your ability to be resilient, to get through anything. Because now the power of the challenge, the power of the limitation weakens. It doesn't have the same hold on you that it had before. And just like our guest, Jodi Michele Cooley, was saying, she even gave her MS, her disorder, the name Her. And she respects her. When she's having a bad day, she realizes that the disease needs that time. It needs that time to rest. It needs her attention. And so sometimes we just kind of have to let our frustrations, our sadness, our stresses, just have their moment. Don't give them all day. Don't give them weeks on end, years on end. Put a time parameter around it, right? Give yourself 5 minutes. Give yourself an hour. Give yourself a day. Do whatever you need to do to allow yourself to feel that moment and give gratitude to what you're going through. But then, this is where the resilience comes in, because you're not going to let it have power over you achieving your dreams and goals. What you are going to do is you're going to give it the time it needs, respect that, but then move forward in your life. I know that you can be resilient. You just have to open yourself up, be vulnerable and transparent. I want to thank everybody here today that's put the show on. We have Rich and Anna Lee and Carrie and Zoe and everybody who puts the show together. But most of all, I want to thank you for listening, because we do this every week for you to get that motivation. We'll be back next week, but until then, here's to you living your life full out.